Hey, local family business. Susan Hamilton here, Chief Executive Officer with OffBeat Business Media. I want to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a young man who had a hard time dealing with his older siblings all moving out. And when he was alone in the home, on a couple occasions, he got really frustrated. He started to experiment with cigarettes and drugs, and at one point he slipped out and he went down the street to an adjacent property that was well known in the community to be neglected. The prior people that were renting out of that home, they were well known and loved in the community, and that landlady had not taken care of this property ever. There were no screens in the windows, the ceiling fans hanging from a string, water leaks from the washer and the dishwasher. It was a continual nightmare in this home and therefore disrespected. Well, this young man decided that in his frustration when that home was vacated, that he was going to find a place to just be by himself and vent, and when he did, he started destroying property. He just let it go, and the products that were inside that home to fix it up for the next tenants that would come in, man, he used that stuff and he just really went to town on it. Since he didn't get caught, he went back and he did it again. Now, not too long after that, this family who was running a business from inside of their home started to be aware that this kid was having some trouble, and through a series of events, this kid ended up getting into a program that was doing him a lot of good. But somewhere down the line, about 5 or 6 months down the line, a detective goes up to this kid's high school, and he's a freshman, and he says, "Hey, young man, did you do this?" And he takes pictures of the damaged property, and in this young man's remorse, he says, "Oh, yes, I did," and he cries. As a freshman in high school, who's kind of a tough kid, so it was a big sign that he had come through a big growth period in his life, but he did write that up. Now, this parent was not notified, the principal was not notified, because come to find out, by the time a child enters into the 6th grade in the city of Richardson, there is no mandate that they tell you at all that your child is being investigated or that they are coming under a criminal charge or an accusation at all. And we actually sign away our rights whenever we sign that handbook that is mandated, or you cannot get your kids' grades. So those are some of the experiences, yes, they're mine, and that we went through at that time. Now, in our family, what was very, very interesting about that, I want you to know, we couldn't afford to fight those charges because we'd put him through some programs. We were already going through a significant period in our life where that money just wasn't there, and my husband and I were prior to this, had a hard time keeping him focused and keeping him on the right track, and it was going to cause some problems in our marriage to cough up even more money. And the landlady charged him with 3 $50,000 felonies because that was how things had balanced out. They had looked at this property, although it wasn't worth $50,000 soaking wet, although chances are there was some serious insurance fraud there that allowed her to even claim that. The way it went through the criminal justice system was, he was either going to face charges for $50,000 that we couldn't afford to fight because of his signature on a what do you call that? Confession. He wrote a confession about that property, and so we just couldn't do anything about it. We were really screwed. We didn't have $50,000 to hire an attorney, and no way to have paid that off had that become something we could do. Now, friends, I want you I'm telling you the story because it does matter. There's things about accusation that when they're leveled against someone and there's no proof and there's no reason that they have to, she was never held accountable to have to prove what type of damage was done. All she had to do was submit bills for what she had done. She was remodeling the property. Now, granted, he did damage. He had a right to be charged. He had to pay a recompense for that and for that situation. But I'm telling you, there were a couple things there you can see that were absolutely not in my favor. And I had a home office right in that community specifically so that I could be involved with the school, so I could have a closer relationship with the kids, so that I'd have some elasticity and flexibility in my life to accommodate these scenarios. But I didn't have the right to do that, now did I? Because some things had gotten out of control. Criminal justice issues, specifically with with our juveniles had gotten out of control. And I want you to know that because of that prior charge, later on, when he got into additional trouble that was also not investigated, the charge was levied was so high, we went with a public defender because we didn't, and once again, it was a $50,000 bond. It was a violence charge due to using K2. This first charge had him on probation, and instead of using pot, he was using what most people do when they have a criminal justice charge with marijuana. They went right to K2. So I got to see a lot of those things, and I know them firsthand from many, many scenarios. And here's the thing. If we don't start paying attention to charges, right, what we are willing to level as an accusation against someone else, if we don't start holding people accountable that are actually making the charges, those things absolutely impact you. And I say that to local family business because you need to realize that when this midterm election is a big deal. And we've got to be careful about being willing to group people together and say, all of this is going to be handled in this such and such a way, whether it is health care, those dollars specifically take money out of your pocket if it's mandated that you can't use to protect your very own kids. Your property taxes are a mess. You really don't know what criminal justice is all about, because when it comes to the kids, the youth in our community, the earlier they start going through criminal justice scenarios, the more they're expected to. And by an adult in the criminal justice system, their kids are expected 70% of the time to go through the system because it's their expected intended norm. Now, these are some things that are too big for one person to fix. They're huge. But we got to realize that if you start taking away all the financial ways that you can become powerful to actually make a difference, you are going to be cutting off your very own feet. So this is a problem. Now, I say this as a staunch conservative. I do not believe in abortion at all, even though I have been in these scenarios before. I'm not going to go into all those details because I know that there are extenuating circumstances. I certainly had them. But to stand with a party that believes that this is a woman's right to choose rather than a woman's health issue, or wait, we want to save that child. We are using it as birth control, and it's quite unfortunate. And a lot of people, even in the conservative side, say, what's the big deal? You just kill the child so nobody has to pay for it later. Well, who's in charge, money or life? And for me, that decision's already been made. So you can debate with me all you want. What I'm getting at is, for me, that's the party I'm going to side with. But we've got a lot of problems in that party. We are not right in many, many ways in that party. But pay attention, local family business owners, because this does impact your life. If your money is being spent on mandated health care for scenarios that you just cannot afford, and you know it, you believe in alternative health care like we do, and we can't afford to go get that done because they would never accept insurance. If I'm mandated to pay insurance and I have to pay a high level of care for alternative health care for large things, for for instance, my husband had a stroke. What we have ended up doing to succeed, actually, we actually have had success in these things, is very, very expensive. And you've got to be careful not to be cutting your feet off when it comes to the money that's going through your household, when it comes to how your money's being spent in your company. Are your business taxes way too high? Yes, they are. They don't make any sense. You're having to do a lot of things that you're taking for granted as a local business that it needs to be reformed. Your property taxes aren't going for your teacher, your officer, the things that they need to be taken care of, and yet they're going up each time, and yet those people are still not having what they need. These problems are so much bigger and if you major in the minors, you'll never solve the real problems. Make sure you're paying attention to the big things that you absolutely have to make a decision on. And for me, that's life or death. The other things can be solved, they can be resolved, they need to be fixed. But the biggest things that we've got, including criminal justice, and we've got to solve it. We've got a conservative side for criminal justice is ridiculous. What they're doing with our drug addicts is absolutely wrong. But we can solve that problem if we are strong and we have a voice that says, you know what, it's not about Republican or Democrat, it's about local family business. What's best for us? How can we step into this space and take some authority back? And you need to be able to do that. And in the process, I want you to recognize something. This accusation mentality out there that we are all willing to say that just because somebody says something is true and they don't have to back it up and there's no proof. Yeah, there's things that you'll never be able to back up. Guess what? Time passes and there's really nothing you can do about it. That's true in everybody's life. Pay attention to what bandwagon you're jumping onto and protect yourself. Protect your family, your community, and your neighborhood with things that you know make sense. And then if you what you don't like, get in there and change it. Participate in your local city council elections. It starts right here. Participate in what's going on with the budget for your county. Do you know Dallas County, 75% of the Dallas County budget and your property taxes goes to criminal justice initiatives? That's ridiculous, and there's something to be said for that. We've got to turn around what we're doing with money. If the idea is throw people away on any level, we are making the wrong choice. That's my call to you today. Yes, my personal opinion. I love you. Chime in. No, I'm going to get rid of hateful remarks. I'm not the least bit interested in sharing those or even involving those. But for crying out loud, when you're on the other side of a leveled accusation that does not have to be proven for the whole world to jump in and believe, man, you'll see that. You'll see how dangerous it is to start believing everything you hear. And one thing for sure, there's only one person making money. There's only one entity making money when the media divides the community. And it is not the United States of America. It is not we the people. So if we're going to make a difference here, friends, we don't let these other propaganda machines choose what we believe, what we stand for, and isolate us and start dividing us. And painting these nasty pictures of groups of people. If you want to solve what's going on with the riot mentality on either side of the aisle, that ain't the way to do it. You don't just join in and expect it to be different. There are better ways to do it, and it starts with having conversations, and it starts with realizing that we don't level accusations that we can't prove, and we don't accept them from other people. You know, biblically speaking, it says on the count of 2 or 3 people, but they're credible witnesses. You don't just dive into something because somebody says something. You start to recognize agenda out there. All right? The United States of America is a relatively new nation. It takes 1 generation to lose a nation. And it's about time we started standing strong for what we truly believe in. Till next time, Susan Hamilton.